February 21st, 2024 will now come to order. Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move to the next item. The approval of the minutes of the meeting which held on January 24th, 2024. Motion, second, discussion.
Yes, I would like to compliment the taker of the minutes. It was an involved meeting last meeting with a lot of back and forth, and it was captured very accurately. I want to acknowledge that. It's difficult to do.
Thank you for that.
Well,
And,
Mary Ann.
yeah, so noted. Thank you, Mary Ann. Next is discussion regarding dock fiber lease agreement.
Sure, I'll take that. RIPTA staff requests approval to enter into a lease agreement with Ocean Inc. in substantially form presented. The key elements of the agreement are as follows. Ocean would lease 12 strands of dock fiber on the Newport Pell Bridge. Ocean is responsible for all costs associated with connecting the fiber. This is a 10-year agreement with two 5-year mutual options. The financial benefits to RIPTA are considerable. Ocean will provide free of charge the services that Cox Communications is currently providing. The annual fees from Cox are approximately $70,000 a year. In addition, the connection speed from Ocean will be approximately double the current speed that we receive from Cox. The new services with Ocean will be available to RIPTA by June 30th of 2024. And that's it.
I just want to note that we're always looking to monetize our assets. And this is an example. You know, our primary revenue is toll revenue and also gas tax revenue. But we're always, and obviously our bonds, but we're always looking to monetize our assets. And Jeff's always looking for opportunities to
Nice
monetize.
job, Jeff.
And this is a great
Nice
thing.
job.
I agree. And this is really worthwhile because those conduits have been in there for a long time, and I know that there's been an attempt to market for a long time, so congratulations on getting it done. And we've got many more also still available.
Yep.
And I encourage everybody to continue to market it.
Do you ever reach out to like others, like Crown Castle?
Crown Castle we've spoken to
Oh, yeah?
a number of times, CBRE, Verizon,
Yeah, yeah.
all of them.
All of them.
Yep.
And some have actually reached out to us in addition to, you know, our efforts.
That's great. And so there's potential for
There's potential.
Yeah.
I mean, most of I think Bennis will be using this for resilience purposes because they have the underwater
yes.
cable that they're using, but for resilient purposes.
Well, nice job.
And I'd like to thank, Frank and then Kyle Benoit. They were very helpful in getting all the detail that we needed for the
Thanks, Frank.
agreement.
Nice of you.
Okay, discussion. I have a motion, seconded. Further discussion, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you. Next is board council.
Yep, I'll take this one as well. In July of 2023, RIPTA staff issued a request for proposal for legal services and received 6 proposals related to 9 distinct areas of representation, including litigation, appellate, commercial taxation, public finance, environmental, labor and employment tolling, internal and external investigations, general matters and corporate governance, and finally construction and design. Based on the submissions, RIPTA staff is recommending Rodeo and Arcillo to serve as board counsel at a rate of $225 per hour. And I did attach the proposal from Rodeo and Arcillo.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you. Discussion, questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Make a motion. Second.
Motion duly seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. Next item is routine inspection of North Main Road bridges and wildlife arches.
I'll take that one, thank you.
Yes, sir.
As you know, Federal Highway requires routine bridge inspections every 2 years on all of our bridges. The North Main Road bridges and wildlife arches 1 through 4 are due for routine inspection this year. we solicited requests for quotes from 5 of our pre-qualified on-call infrastructure professional services consultants for the routine inspections. All 5 that we selected were local firms. These are single-span bridges. They're simpler structures to inspect than our core complex bridges. So we wanted to keep it down to some of our local firms and give them an opportunity to get some work with us. All five of them responded. Commonwealth Engineers and Consultants was selected as the best candidate for this proposed work. Their proposal was the lowest amount at the $30,839.05. The costs in the proposal were benchmarked against previous inspections for these bridges and determined to be reasonable, and they were under budget. Our budgeted amount was $37,000 for all of these bridges for this year. We in the past, I've mentioned this before, but in the past we have historically offered the use of our bridge inspection equipment and staff to manage traffic control and operate the equipment, but we're trying to get caught up on some maintenance on all of our bridges, so rather than tie up our equipment for inspections, we've asked these consultants to include those costs in their proposals, and they're still coming in with good pricing. So our recommendation is to authorize a task order with CENC for $30,839.
Questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion? Motion by Peter, seconded by Darrell. Discussion, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, Eric.
Sure.
Next item is discussion regarding concrete deck repairs of rubberized asphalt chip seal from Mount Hope Bridge.
I'll take that one as well.
Yes, sir.
So this is not an action item, it's just a discussion item. I wanted to bring this up in front of the board and just kind of float these ideas. So on October 23rd of last year, we received bids because we had put out a proposal for 6,000 square feet of concrete deck wearing surface repairs on Mount Hope Bridge. The lowest bid was $1,379,000. This work would temporarily address many of the current pothole issues that we are out there fixing with our own maintenance staff, but it would do very little towards improving rideability, and rideability on the bridge has become a common complaint. So when you're doing the concrete patches, you're still having patchwork out there, kind of like the patches that exist on Newport Bridge. So when you ride over the bridge, it creates a rough riding surface. So yes, it would address the current potholes, but it would still be a rough ride going over the bridge until we do the final deck rehabilitation project, which we have in our capital plan to begin in FY26. During that project, we remove all of the wearing surface on the bridge, the entire width, curb to curb, and replace it with a whole new wearing surface. At that point, you basically have a brand new riding surface. That's the ultimate project that's in the plans. So we decided to look at what are our other options to get us by until we do this final project. One of the options is to spend the $1.3 million on temporary deck repairs, but it's only 6,000 square feet on a bridge deck, which is vastly larger than that. Another option is rubberized asphalt chip seal. This has been performed on Mount Hope Bridge several times in the past 10 to 12 years. It does nothing to address current pothole issues, so that's just one point I wanted to make. So we could go out and do a chip seal on the entire bridge, and then the very same day, Frank may have to send our people out to do a pothole repair, because it does nothing to address the delamination of the surface underneath. But it does temporarily improve rideability. So we worked with WSP, who was one of our on-call consultants, to come up with a rough order of magnitude cost to perform this. And we looked at available bid data from RIDOT and from the city of Newport, thanks to Peter Generos for sending some information around. Over the past 5 to 6 years, WSP estimates that this option would cost between $265,000 and $350,000. So again, this would improve rideability. It would not address the potholes. We would have to continue to make pothole repairs, but now you'd be starting out with a refreshed riding surface and then basically doing pothole repairs little by little for the next few years until we do the deck repairs.
Why are we waiting until, was it 26, you said?
Yeah, so we've got it programmed in the capital plan, and it's based on a plan of finance, and obviously we wanted to get the dehumidification project out first.
Right, yeah.
And
Understood, but that'll be completed this year, yes?
No, the dehumidification will actually take several years once we go to final bid. The work we're starting in March on dehumidification is part of our design. That's a cable airflow test.
Right.
That'll be about 11 weeks worth of work.
Right.
Then we finalize the design, we go out to bid in the, I think it's in June right now, we have a schedule.
So that won't be ready till the.
That doesn't finish up until 28.
28.
Right.
So then, but you want to do the resurfacing when?
The resurfacing is in the plan to begin in FY '26. So there is a potential to have overlap on the project because
Because I was just gonna, yeah.
the way the dehumidification project works is once they erect all the scaffolding under the cable,
Yes.
almost all of the work is done offline. Traffic's flowing in both directions and
Okay.
all the workers are up on the cables.
Okay.
So you could theoretically have an overlap in the project and start working on the bridge deck. In fact, with further studies, it could even work to our benefit, potentially.
You answered my, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I didn't understand, yeah.
Well, I'm personally very much in favor of the chip seal option.
Okay.
Um,
Why is that, Peter?
If you think of it, we've got, I think it's an average daily traffic around 16,000 customers per day.
Yeah,
Trips per day.
17.
16,000 people go over that, and a lot of them talk to me about the rideability and how lousy it is.
Must be a busy guy talking to 16,000 people.
I do. I have to make office hours, but, yeah. But a lot of people complain about that. And if you think of it, if you spend $1.3 million and do permanent patching, that's gonna be torn up in a couple of years. It doesn't
I
make
agree.
a lot of sense,
I agree.
right?
I
So in
agree.
the meantime, I look at it as a modest investment for the benefit of our customers.
Okay.
And I do look at the riders over the bridges as our customers. And I think we can give them some rideability for the time and their inconvenience in the past. And again, for a modest investment, I think it's a wise choice to move ahead with that chip seal.
That's a point. well
And
taken.
then the
Thank
third
you.
option is to do nothing, of course, that's always an option, right? You could
No.
just continue on doing what we're doing, patching potholes, but the rideability would remain the way it is for the next couple of years.
So I just went over it on Monday, I believe. You have some good sized holes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just rough in general, overall.
Yes,
Yeah, So,
yeah. But
I recommend that we
you know,
proceed.
I don't know much about on the first one as far as pavement.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go along with what you and Peter both recommend. Yeah.
So based on that, I think we should plan to put it on the board for vote.
Yes, next agenda.
Next time, and
if
then we
that-
can proceed to, with the procurement aspects of it.
Yeah, we would
And,
get some plans prepared, put them out to bid, and-
Yes.
and hopefully we would get bids that are in this estimated range. It's not done often, there isn't a lot of information, I mean, we had the city of Newport's information and some of Rideout's information you have to look at because they do chip seals of miles of roads. So sometimes their unit prices in their weighted average unit price database could be skewed because somebody's got miles of roads and they're talking about going over the bridge, and that's it. Our work does involve, we have extra work involved, which they have to cover all of the drains before they do it. They have to cover the joints before they do it. There's a lot more prep work. That has been, included in these estimated numbers. Again, it's a ballpark, so we can plan to go out with bids and see how they fall, and then we'll make a decision at that point too.
Thank you very much.
The good thing about it is it's a very small, like 2-day project.
About 2 days, yeah, I think they would probably get a link
It's in
done
and out.
per night.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it was done before, it was a very, very efficient.
The picture that's in the board package, there's a picture of Mount Hope Bridge. It's the second to last photo in the package. That was a picture of the Mount Hope Bridge right after one of the chip seals.
And the one above it is all the patches.
Oh, okay.
So that's what you're left with.
Next time you go around Ocean Drive, you'll see that the city of Newport has done half of the Ocean Drive with that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And the durability?
You can get a couple of years,
That's what you're looking
The
for.
point would be to get a few years out of it
Right.
and buy us some time until we do the final project.
That's what you're looking for, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very thin layer. Some of this comes from concrete. It doesn't necessarily get mashed into the bridge the same way it would on a roadway, but again, you can get 3-4 years probably of good
Yes,
use.
we've done that easily before.
Yeah.
At least one, if not two, of our grant proposals has included the deck So when Eric mentioned the plan of finance that matches our capital plan, so that we always know we have money for a specific project, we did include redecking of the Mount Hope Bridge in some of the grant proposals we've submitted. So far, we have not been successful. So the money that's programmed for the eventual replacement of the deck is our money so far. Hope springs eternal, and we continue to pursue federal funds.
Yeah.
Great.
So we're still looking for money for the deck alone at this point because we're moving forward with the dehumidification.
Right.
And I think the window's closing on future grants because of the timing of how long it would take to get a grant obligated. We need to keep moving on the dehumidification. But the one thing that, you know, could potentially delay the deck project if it does remain our own money is if the bids on the dehumidification come in a little higher because of the market. So that's another reason to look at doing something like the chip seal in case we can't get it done, you know, get started on FY26 and have to slide a little bit. You've at least done something to address it.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, next is, let's see, capital projects.
Sure, take that one as well. The Phase 2 AET construction, out front you'll see lots of activity. The bridge deck is completed on the eastbound side of the bridge for structure E. It's all cured, they've removed all of the heat. The next step on that would be eventually to pave the top of it, but for now it's left as concrete. They last week poured half of the concrete 100-foot section of roadway that will exist under the new gantry. They've poured the gantry foundations. They're cranking along. They've installed most of the fill for the new highway alignment, a vast majority of all of the fill, quite a bit of it. And they continue. This week they'll be pouring the other half of the slab that will be under the gantry. And that'll you know, once they get that concrete poured and finished, that's one of the key pieces to sort of building in the winter.
This is moving along on schedule.
It's moving along on schedule. Yeah, Lynch has been very, very good. They're moving right along. Even on days that we've had snow, they have workers out here working. So it's been impressive. So good response on this.
Thank you.
The Mount Hope Bridge dehumidification project. Frank, Jeff Wigan, and myself, we all went down to the Ben Franklin Bridge, which goes between Camden, New Jersey, and Philly, and took a tour of their dehumidification system. Theirs was designed by an overseas consultant called Kui. It has not been a success. However, what we learned down there are all of the things not to do on this project that we're doing. In fact, AECOM, who is designing our project, has been hired by DRPA that manages that bridge to come in and recommend fixes on that bridge. So our tour was interesting. We went around and looked at all of the things not to do, which as we're learning during the design, we're doing all of the opposite. All of the things.
Those are the best tours.
They really are. They really are. I'll tell you, these tours, we did one of the Delaware Memorial Bridge last year, and even that one was very beneficial. We learned a lot on these. Meanwhile, we also had a 30% design update meeting at AECOM's office since we were right there in Philly anyways. And we had a kickoff meeting for the Kiewit cable airflow test contract. So everything's moving along nicely. Kiewit will be mobilizing for the cable airflow test on the 4th of March. They'll actually start working on the project on the 11th of March. And then that will proceed for 55 work days or less if they hit it hard and do well. So AECOM just submitted the final 30% design version of their report. We're going through that right now, and they're already proceeding along towards final design. The compression link work, we continue to monitor the scaffolding that's installed under the Newport Bridge right now at the compression link, and meanwhile WSP is proceeding with their design of the final fix on this project. So we'll just continue to work with them to get that design finalized. Safety measures feasibility study for all 4 of our major bridges actually. I just had an update meeting with Atkins yesterday. All studies are on schedule. And that's really all I have to report on that one so far. And then load ratings and inspections, we just keep plugging along as they keep coming up and they're due. Any questions?
Any questions?
No, excellent.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Eric. All right, next. Executive Director.
Chief Financial
Oh,
Officer.
Chief, okay.
Hi, Thomas, this will be quick.
Financial report.
All the numbers are good, so, total revenue, and this is our 6 months fiscal year-to-date results, but total revenue is higher by $3.9 million, or roughly 18%. That increase is driven 100% by the higher toll revenue, as our gas tax was pretty much on budget. Transponder revenue, which I never talk about, was lower than budget, and that's because in the month of December, a decision was made to give out free transponders. So we did not have that revenue. We generally get anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000 a month in transponder revenue. With respect to our operating expenses, they were lower by $400,000. Personnel, utilities, contractual, other supplies and expenses, insurance, bridge inspections, they were all lower than budget. Repairs and maintenance was only higher by $1,000, so it's pretty much on budget. And our transponder expenses were higher just due to the higher volume we had because we were giving them away for free. All my other notes are in here, but everything's positive. January looks good, and the first half of February looks good as well. Yes, sir.
What's the outlook on the gas tax?
As far, I've got a projection 5 years out, so they do have it tweaking down.
It is.
And we built that into our planned finance as well.
And that's all because of EVs. Are our bridges, changing subjects real quick, are they going to be capable of handling the additional weight of electric vehicles?
They'll handle it for, I mean, so you have to look at a couple of things. When would we all be all 100% EVs? I think it's going to progress much slower than the government thinks they're going to progress it.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, the infrastructure does not exist anywhere in the country. We're nowhere near it. So I think we've got a long period of time before we have to worry about all vehicles being EVs. But it will be an interesting subject because, I mean, I read lots of articles about this and other structures. One of the bigger concerns right now is parking garages. Parking garages were not designed for the added weight of EVs. At least on our bridges, vehicles are generally live loads, so they're passing over, there's space between them. Very different than a complete dead load. You've got a whole parking garage floor full of EVs. They're going to have a big issue with parking garages in this country for EVs. I think the bridges will be able to work with it for a much longer time.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Yeah.
And it's not just the weight of the EVs, it's also what they do to the road surface.
Right.
Some of it is really the force that the tires, not just the weight of the tires, it's the rotational forces that the tires impart on the roads. It kills the roads. It really does. It absolutely kills the roads. It's very different than an internal combustion vehicle.
Thank you.
So it's something that we have to track from an infrastructure perspective. It's a good question.
Thank you. Okay. Barbara?
Yeah, thank you. Plaza Road design work, I think that's, we've covered that. I did go out with Eric and Jeff Wigan to inspect when structure E out here was redone. There's a subcontractor working for Lynch, a company called Algar. They've done a wonderful job, a beautiful job of rebuilding the structure E. It's all moving along. We do field a lot of questions from the public about the status of the project, and we do make clear to people, and when I speak with the media, I make clear that we will be able to return dual lanes in each direction at the plaza point, at the pinch point there, by mid-May. This project will continue. It won't be over. However, we will have removed that pinch point. And it will be much more like what motorists are used to in going over the bridge. There will be times when we have to take a lane for various parts of the project, or for inspection, or for the compression link work, or whatever other work needs to be done. But so I don't want to mislead anybody into thinking that this is all going to be done by mid-May. What we will be able to do is return 2 lanes in each direction. by mid-May and remove that pinch point that we've all been experiencing. So I think that's, it's important that we communicate with the public and make certain that they know what we're doing. Eric and I fielded a call from a teacher at the Naval War College, a math teacher, who called and all he wanted was information, and we spent quite a while on the telephone with him, answering his questions, and it's positive conversations like that that keep our relationship with the public going strong. So, so that's it's certainly been this project was humming along fine until we had that incident that we all know about upstate with the Washington Bridge, and then we experienced more traffic, as we've discussed, and I'll get back to that. The second thing, the Mount Hope Bridge dehumidification project, I have been stressing to any of the elected officials that reach out, whether it's the governor's office, the federal delegation, I've been stressing that, I've seen language about the fact that this project is, quote, set to begin. The only thing that's set to begin is this preliminary blow testing in the cables, which will cover a period of about 55 days, be done by the Roger Williams graduation. And we, the team here, Frank, Jeff, Eric, Steve, the safety and maintenance team have gotten together to make certain that we inconvenience people as minimally as possible, because we know what they're already going through upstate, and that we know we've already given them a challenge here on the Pell. So we are doing our best. Peter today has provided some traffic numbers that validate the plans we've made in terms of not doing this preliminary testing work during the commute time in the morning or in the afternoon. We think we have it right. We'll make certain we have it right. We've also had outreach from the business community in Bristol, and Eric and I will be meeting with a representative of the Bristol Business Owners Association, who has promised that if we keep the communication lines open and work with them, they will support us. And it's support like that from our host communities. Communication is everything. It's virtually all of getting this right. So that's
will we be doing the traffic control?
Yes.
On that?
We will.
All of it? Okay.
We will.
On the blow test.
Right.
Right, yes,
yep.
yes. And then as I've been trying to stress to the media, when we finish the blow testing at the Roger Williams graduation date, then we will stop, because it's summer and we don't, this is our time. Now is our time for doing construction work on our bridges. Unfortunately, we've had the complication of the Washington Bridge, but this is our time for doing work. So we will, and then the dehumidification system will ramp up again into the fall and spring of 2025. And as Eric mentioned, at some point the work all goes up onto scaffolding so that traffic is moving in both directions. The workers are working above the traffic. So we think we have it right. We hope we have it right, and we'll be listening to input from the public. No one's shy about giving it to us, and we will respond. And sometimes people call and they're angry, and by the time they finish talking with us and understanding it better, they're saying thank you for answering my questions and for doing the best you can to ease the pain. So. The Washington Bridge, impact on RIPA operations. We have already discussed that. I know that Jeff has already mentioned the figures for January. We had an estimate of the impact on our traffic in January was approximately 25,000 additional vehicles, or 830 additional vehicles a day. I think, and I don't have validation of this from with data, but I think with the naked eye you can see that it is mostly coming westbound. It is all of the commuters much of it is the commuters in the East Bay who may no longer head west over the Washington Bridge. Instead, they're doing a southern loop to go to the airport, to go to Providence. I mean, I've had legislators in the East Bay telling me they're getting to the State House by doing this southern loop. The other impact that I just want to mention that is taxing our staff is that we are now getting APRA requests. Because of the focus on inspection and the condition of bridges, specifically the Washington Bridge. Of course, many in the media and many others who are interested in the topic are sending us APRA requests asking.
How long do you have to respond to those?
We have 10 days, but we can ask for more time. We also have we have some considerations here. In terms of what we can disclose. We have a process of having to go through the TSA. Because of the nature of these assets, there's safety-sensitive information related to these bridges, so we cannot just answer these requests.
So when you receive one, you let the whomever it is know that we have other agencies that we need to reach out to in order to.
We work with outside counsel. We have been working in recent weeks because we're receiving these requests. So that's just another factor. While we all appreciate that the public has the right to know and they have the right to ask, and we know there's even a bill pending to amend the Access to Public Records Act to make it. So that the public can ask and receive as they want to. But the other side of that is that we have work, we have our work to do to maintain these bridges, and we're also having to devote resources to answering these APRA requests. We understand that's our obligation. I'm just raising it, that it's tough to, we expected this, but it really is starting to ramp up. That's about the only other thing. I think then we have our next board meeting with our agenda already shaping up for March 20th, 2024.
Thank you. Questions? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Motion, second. That's it. Thank you, everyone.